Hey everyone, and welcome to the AI Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Joseph, and today we're very lucky to have AI specialist Kateryna Stetsiuk on the podcast. Welcome, Kateryna. It's so lovely to have you with us.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm really happy to be here.
Brilliant, brilliant, excellent. And so, Kateryna, I mean, our first question, which I'm sure our listeners are on the edge of their seats about, is tell us about your technology origin story.
Yeah, I'm currently working with AI, and but I started my career as a software developer. It was more than 11 or 12 years ago. And it was like a software developer role. But soon I realized that I wanted to take on more kind of a complex and challenging problems.
Hmm.
And that curiosity led me into machine learning, where I grew up into the role of a machine learning engineer.
Hmm.
And over time, I transitioned into more leadership, managing teams, and building products in AI, but across different areas. It's natural language processing products, computer vision products, and also we had a lot of classical data science. Eventually, I became a head of AI. This role I have held in several companies
Hmm.
where I built an AI departments from the scratch.
Hmm.
So, including my last experience where we grew up a team from zero to more than 50 machine learning engineers.
Wow.
And today I continue my work as fractional head of AI in the Dot Collective, while also running my own consulting business. And our main focus now is on helping organizations implement AI technologies effectively
Mm.
and build kind of a strong and high performing AI teams. And all this about kind of the lead business transformation
Hmm.
powered by AI. It's all processes focused on helping organizations, companies rethink their processes,
Mm.
structures, strategies to unlock new levels of efficiency and innovations using AI. But I must say that I'm a big fan of AI, but only to apply AI where it's really needed. So
Okay.
not to have AI for fun, just to
Right.
have AI for real value for companies.
Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, wow, amazing. Well, there's so much to dig into there. I'm just to go to the back to the beginning. That you say you started out as a software dev. Was that kind of like just something that you fell into, or were you from an early age trying to take computers apart, or what was it that got you into the software development space in the first place?
Yeah, I got my master degree in cybersecurity, and
Oh
from my
yeah.
university age, I started work as Java developer.
Mm.
So I created a code using like a Java language. It was for enterprise company that work with different networks,
Hmm.
and yeah, we developed like a lot of software for this kind of industry. But yeah, but then I tried to look for me something like a more challenging, more maybe
Sure.
scientific. So kind of the standalone programming wasn't as much interesting for me
Right.
as, for example, create machine learning solutions where we
Mm-hmm.
can train models, where we can train neural networks. And also it was 11 years ago, and it was only the start of boom of neural networks.
Right.
It
Right.
was like the big hype for convolutional neural networks
Mm-hmm.
and all this stuff. So it was kind of a beginning,
Hmm.
and it's really was interesting. So it was the time when the first Andrew Ng courses in Coursera
Hmm.
about machine learning was created.
Mm.
So it was fun. It was fun to research, to figure out how to build all the things. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. Well, shout out to Andrew Ng. Yeah, that was I do remember. Yeah, his courses and the course the start of Coursera, and yeah, it's been an exciting few years, hasn't it? And so yeah, well, I think that slides us nicely into our next question about how AI is affecting your life and work. Now, clearly, AI is totally central to your work. I'm definitely more interested to hear interested to hear more about what you're advising companies, what the AI you're excited about. But I think also, and I try to get this for all of our guests, is also outside of work. I think AI is affecting things that in the past we wouldn't have had even that much technology necessarily involved in it. Yeah, so I'd love to hear what you think are the most exciting ways in which AI is affecting both what you're doing at work, but also in your home life that you're.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right because AI affects my life and work directly because I literally what I do. So in terms of work direction, I think we can like talk about it more like a later, but it's like a work with business to transform their processes using AI.
Sure.
But beyond that, I honestly now can't imagine like my daily life without tools like AI assistant, like
Hmm.
ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, all these things, and they really transform many things how I approach my work
Hmm.
because they help me to simplify many routine and repetitive tasks from information search and analysis to some comparisons, data processing. So for me, AI handles the groundwork
Mm.
from gathering and structuring information,
Hmm.
while strategic decision implementations remains my responsibility.
Okay.
So I use AI as an everyday assistant,
Hmm.
and it's literally in everything from managing work processes to figuring out how to cook some food in the evening, for
Right, right.
example.
Recipe
So
suggestions. Yeah.
yeah, and from my side also, I use ChatGPT a lot for research work. So
Mm.
I don't Google as much as I did it
Mm.
before,
Hmm.
especially when it can provide links and other stuff. So it's really useful. So, but Perplexity is also very nice in it.
Mm.
But for sure, we shouldn't like forget about some limitation of such assistance like hallucinations
Hmm.
and other
Hmm.
stuff. It's really important. So that's why I think like people in general should educate themselves about how to use AI properly now.
Yeah.
But yeah, but AI assistants are currently kind of must have in my routine life, and maybe we can like also shape it in different directions like how we can like use it we can like talk with this assistants we can talk with our own data we can make different information structuring processing extraction we can generate different stuffs like reports emails
Hmm.
pdfs
Hmm.
other
Hmm.
stuff so I think that we have many directions to apply AI now
Mm.
but also it's important to understand that for now, from my own perspective, I see that like maybe not more than 10% of companies now in Europe, for example, in UK,
Mm.
are adopting AI. So
Mm.
that's why like many people still don't use ChatGPT and other
Mm.
assistants.
Mm.
It means that when people first try to use it, they can from the one prompt figure out how to shape their processes, how to
Hmm.
rework their
Hmm.
routines, how to maintain their repetitive tasks and other stuff. That's
Mm.
why I think for now AI in daily activities is kind of a skill that also should be mastered.
Mm.
So people need to try to rebuild, to try what is prompt, which prompts works better, try to adapt it in their daily life and experiment with it because I believe that currently so no one know everything about these AI tools
No.
and
Cool.
we just like need to experiment with this and try and check what works for us better.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's extraordinary time. I totally agree with the, well, at least I agree. Similar experience that I am definitely Googling much less. I mean, you know, I kind of like, I think I started paying for Chat GPT in 2023, but you know, I think they released the four, and there was a thing on LinkedIn about a guy who was running a company. It was a clothing company that he was just creating, and he was outsourcing the entire CEO of it to ChatGPT, and that was happening. And I was reading about it, and I was like, I have to be in. And so I was like, right. I mean, I usually try and avoid, you know, committing to payment for online services, but I think like
Uh,
me, like many others, I've
abs-
been in there. Sorry, go on.
Absolutely, and I'm also a big fan of companies who are currently trying to develop AI literacy in their companies.
Mm.
So we
Mm.
also help with education things
Mhm.
because I think no one in companies know their processes better than employees. And
Mm.
if we are able to educate employees about what is AI in general, yeah,
Mm,
helicopter view on
mm,
AI industry, what AI can do, what AI can do, what is the opportunities, what's are the limitations,
mhm,
and educate people about all these stuffs on their places with their processes. They can define how to adapt AI better.
mm,
So when we come to company and the company wants, okay, we need AI, what we can do, so
mm,
we can't tell them directly what they should do. We need to figure out like their processes, their problems, their challenges, pain points, where they have many routine repetitive tasks for
mhm,
employees, and figure out where it makes sense to apply AI.
mhm,
And I always attract to these processes like a head of departments, just like regular employees, because they really know their processes, they know pain
mhm,
points, they know where they spend a huge amount of time. And when they have understanding about AI, they come to us with ideas. Okay, look, we can use AI here. We can use AI maybe
mhm,
here.
mhm,
They even
mhm,
create their own GPTs and other kind of the agents
mhm.
that can help them with tasks. So I think it's a main task for each business now to educate people about AI
Right.
literacy.
Right, right, right. Yeah, no, indeed so. Well, we'll maybe come back to that. Well, I mean, we've got within the Rebel AI community, out of which this podcast grew, people, there's some people who are like very, very, advanced AI practitioners and have already transformed their organizations. There's other people who are earlier in that curve, and I think there's a lot of people wanting to understand better how they can take advantage of AI. Just to come back to sort of you personally, the things you're using each day. I mean, I think Mani Sakar, who we had on last week, also talked about Perplexity. I mean, I used that very briefly. I never really got into it, and I get the sense now that maybe some of the features that Perplexity kind of was the trailblazer, now OpenAI have adopted, and so like deep research and things there. So I kind of, feel like, I mean, for me personally at the moment, I've got ChatGPT is my go-to to ask for like personal questions, for even like discussing strategy options. Not, no, I'm not giving it the final say at work. And then Claude 4.5, which has come out, and using that through Windsurf and Cursor and so on for a lot of my like hands-on dirty coding. I've got those have become my main things. And I occasionally I'll use Gemini or Grok or what have you, but those are my core ones. I just want to get, yeah, for you, is that, it sounds like maybe you're using a broader spread. You're going to different things, or are you starting to focus in on particular tools that are your favorites?
I really like maybe the ChatGPT the most, but what I really try to do, and it works for me better, it's when for example, if it's a new task, especially if you're talking about like some strategic things like
Hmm, hmm,
brainstorming and other stuff, for different tasks, I try to put the first request into different models. It's for
hmm,
example like a ChatGPT from OpenAI, and for Claude and for Gemini, and check like what will create for me the better answer and better approaches. Because for some
okay.
tasks, ChatGPT works better. For some tasks, Gemini
Hmm,
works better. For example, if we're talking about maybe creative writing, I
uh,
think like a ChatGPT currently from the scratch is not
hmm,
kind of the best. So sometimes like a
hmm,
Gemini provides much better responses, but it's personally for me.
sure.
So, but as a core tool, I think like a ChatGPT is main for me.
Right,
But if I recommend someone who only start to work with it, especially don't know what will work for them better, I advise to try different tools and
right.
figure it out like what works best.
Yeah, right, right. And were you're saying there is like experiment with all. Were you maybe suggesting that, like, for example, when you're thinking about a strategic decision, that you might ask, even though ChatGPT might be your favorite, you might ask the same question of multiple models and compare and
Yes,
contrast what they're
absolutely.
saying. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the main things also for all these tasks is to give, I think also it works for me the best, is to provide as much context if we can to
Right.
this assistant. Because if we are talking only like a please create me a strategy how I can develop AI consultancy, it will be
Mm,
very narrow and not as much as interesting for me personally.
mm,
But if we give many context about like myself, about my projects, about my approaches, about
mm,
what I like, what I
mm,
dislike, what
mm.
is my like main vision, goals, strategy, and other things, it can help shape us very very targeted to our request. So it's also my advice for everyone who use it like to provide many contexts. So context window is a huge now in this model. So that's why we shouldn't try to avoid additional context. It will not be, it will only be helpful for us.
Right, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, so I mean, it's making me think, and perhaps well, I shouldn't go into too much detail, but I'm thinking about the questions that I'm seeing about people who are wanting to get more involved in AI, and they're saying, I want to read stuff about how to do this, and so on. I'm sure you have a lot of opinions. Mine perhaps not somewhat naive. I mean, I've introduced AI into a couple of one key organization is for the people who are thinking about this, I'm kind of almost like I think you were talking about there about 10% adoption. I think that for many companies, people are sort of afraid, like the AI access is locked down, and it's well, it might be, company secrets might get, spread or this, that, and the other. And so, we're talking to one person who's saying like, well, we could change that, because he's at that level. Where should we start? And I was saying to him, this is most of my naive take, and you can probably have a more nuanced one, which is I was saying like, look, first work, and this is what I did in the previous company. First, get an enterprise enabled, I'll say that word, or an enterprise grade, get the Chat GPT subscription and get it where, they are promising not to train on your data, and you can start to have conversations about your strategy. And then when it comes to like, I love what you're saying about talking to the individual employees. Is like try and identify one simple, small part of the business, which is where there's drudgery. If you've got somebody who in the organization who's kind of excited about AI, oh, AI could do this thing for us. I mean, forget customer facing things in the first instance. Just see if you can get into a conversation, a secure conversation with one AI about how you might do a small proof of concept in one part of the organization. And if you've got an employee who's going to be a champion for that, that seems like a great way to start. How does that sound to you? And what beyond that or alternatives might you suggest to the person who's like in that position?
Yeah, I'm absolutely agree with like your approach also. So it's when we work with company, so who want to adopt AI, we started like from education, and that's
Mm,
why the first thing, as you told, so it's just like to push people to start use it. So to start
mm,
use it for simple tasks like that, to try them to write the first prompt. Because when people only listen a webinar or see workshop,
mm,
they think, yeah, it's fine, but maybe it's not for me. But we need to
mm.
push them to engage in it.
Yeah.
So and what you're talking about, like security things, is also very important, and that's why I also think why AI literacy is important. So
Mm,
when we
mm,
explain our employees like why we should be secure with data, it
mm,
also helps them to understand what they can upload into this assistant, what they can't. And from my experience, when so even non-technician guys are really good in understanding it. So
mm,
they understand. So they come to me and say, Kate, so I have such PDFs that has many kind of secure data, so I shouldn't upload it. Yeah, I think, yeah, maybe you shouldn't upload it.
right,
So
right.
they realize all the things. And also they are able to delete, remove some important PII information and
Mm,
process
mm,
some processes. So we need to explain and give them knowledge how they can work in it with it,
mm,
because
mm,
I think eventually people will be anyway work with it. So but it's our responsibility like a business to explain them what they can do, what they can do, because if we will not explain it, so they will use it on their own.
mm, mm,
That's why it's responsibility. But as you mentioned about security things and working with models, I also see many requests from companies who are afraid to use some
mm, mm,
ChatGPT models, OpenAI APIs, and other things. And but there is like a things how it can be managed. So first of all, if there is a like it's an enterprise company, if they have like a data set, if they have tasks that really can help them, so we can adapt open source models. Especially
mm,
if you're talking about
mm,
English language, it's fine. So
mm,
for example, I am personally from Ukraine, and for Ukrainian language, the AI models like Mistral or similar, they are
mm.
not as good as for English
Okay.
now. That's
Mm,
why I think for English, open source models are fine to use.
mm,
Also, there are many workarounds. So because companies usually anyway use cloud. So each cloud service providers, like Microsoft has kind of on their own servers OpenAI models directly now. So you
right.
shouldn't use OpenAI API. AWS has Anthropic models. So
Mm,
So there is a way to do it. So security is important. So we can't ignore it. So we need to think about our data because data is a key, is a tool for our business, and we need to be careful with it.
Yeah.
But if company really have a process that can be improved with AI, can be automated or improved, there is a way to make it securely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the secure is very important, and then that's a great point that you make about the open source model. There's so many different options at the moment, and I mean I think one of the things that I think that there is that is it old school? Maybe it's still a sensible thing to do. Like what I sense from some people who are trying to adopt AI or start a new business with AI or what have you is they kind of want to kind of speak to a human who's a specialist in these things, and that's very sensible. Almost for people with like a limited budget or just even before they start talking to them, I feel like that we've got this in, for example, ChatGPT. As long as you completely understand that it can hallucinate and it can lead you in the wrong direction and you mustn't just believe everything that it says. If you, as you were saying, like providing context, if you describe aspects of your business and say, look, to talk to me about where we might use what kind of AI or ML or just even simpler things, I think, as a first pass, it can do quite a good job, right, of saying, maybe this and the pros and cons and what have you. And you can kind of have I feel like there's a sort of a flip that switches between for people who go from my way to understand how to use AI is to ask other humans about it. It's kind of a bit like through the looking glass kind of thing where they actually are okay. If I have a question, I don't have to find an expert in the first instance. I might start with just having a bit of a conversation with AI, and that's a good bootstrap as long as you don't fall down this rabbit hole where you suddenly start believing everything that AI says.
Yes, yes, that's true. It's an amazing starting point, and I'm really exciting when people who are not non-tech guys, for example,
Yes.
lawyers or accountant, are
Hmm.
coming with a good idea. So I figure out how we can automate this process. So let's do this,
Mm-hmm.
this, and you think, yeah, it works, and it worth it because when people who are far away from tech can use it, so
Yeah.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant stuff. Excellent, excellent. Well, sliding on to our next question, which is about leadership, is the AI leadership podcast, and we're very excited about the tech, and we'll definitely come back to more of that. But you're in a leadership role. You're sort of also you're providing leadership to other companies. You're running your own consultancy and so on. On the more human side of things, because at the moment we're not really worrying too much about how we lead the AIs, although of course alignment is a whole other thing. But do you have strong thoughts on how to be a good leader, how to provide leadership in the space or even within your own personal team that you work with?
Yeah, I think maybe the first thing is to be open to the new things. So to give a space to your people to
Mm,
experiment, to try, to work on it. So I think that also in terms of our adoption of AI in organization, especially if leader. So I think over like the next 5 years, we'll see
mm,
more and more organizations adopting AI. However, I think like the true adoptions will take time.
mm,
And also
mhm,
because it's not just only about implementing new technologies, it's about changing people and mindsets.
mm,
So we will have many things in cultural shift, not only in technological one. So
mm,
I think and I believe that the most profound transformation will happen at the intersection of culture and technology. So
mm,
that's why leaders should realize it and should support it. So if the leaders are open, if they educate themselves and educate their people, if they are open to experiment, and to have the room for mistakes, I
mm,
think it's the best one because no one now really know how to get amazing success with AI tools. Everyone
mm,
in the experimenting stage.
mhm, mhm.
So that's why I think like a more experiment we are doing, the better chances we have to succeed with it.
Right.
But if we are not open to it, so it will not be possible. So one thing is certain that AI is here to stay,
Mhm.
and what the best leaders can do is to adapt it as fast as they can, because it will anyway be with us. So
Right. Interesting.
We
Interesting.
can we can we can't ignore it because all competitors, all big companies, all small companies, they already started to adopt it. So that's
Yeah.
why everyone else will only join it. So I think yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Well, no, the revolution is being televised as
yeah,
we speak.
but yeah, and also if we are talking about what good leaders also should do, I think it's important about a strategy. When we start to work with AI things, we need to shoot about the final benefits from it.
Okay.
So not just use this technology because everyone else is using it. No, I
Hmm.
think it's a better approach. So it's a good approach for experimenting if we have
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
time and space for it. But eventually, AI is a technology that also should bring us a value. So
Hmm.
it's not for
Hmm.
fun, just to write inside that we are using AI. No, it's not
Yeah.
about it. So it should bring a value. It should show us ROI. We should understand how it enhance our business, how it
Hmm.
empower our people, how it help us to make our work stronger, more professional,
Hmm.
and other stuff. So everything should be with a value from it. So I'm a big fan of this approach. So I don't
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
to do AI just to let's do something with AI because we need AI. No,
No,
we
no,
need
no.
to
It's
think
about the value. Yeah.
strategically. And I also always tell leaders about that we should have our business strategy and we should align our AI strategy to this business strategy.
Right.
So
Hmm.
it should enhance overall vision, and only in this setup it will work. Because if business apply AI just for fun, in the end they will only be disappointed with it.
Yeah.
They will say AI doesn't make sense and other stuff.
Hmm.
So it should be a smart moves.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, brilliant. That all makes sense. Oh, I particularly like what where you started there, which is about the giving the space to the individuals. And with Manny last week, again, we were talking about. I mean, I think the listeners know my preference for bottom up. I mean, I think it's so difficult to drive adoption with a organization wide decrees. Everybody must use this. I mean, maybe from a security point of view, sure, that works fine. No one can use whatever it is, Claude code in your organization, or whatever it happens to be. That can be decreed top down for security reasons, whatever. Okay, that makes perfect sense. I think when it terms, if you want all of your people to be, and this is independently of whether it's AI or not, if you want people to be being creative and you want people to adopt things, I think that space is critical. I mean, that's, it sounds like where you're coming from as well. It's my preference. But I wonder there, just to circle back on the leader, and I think that's, focus on value, absolutely. On the leadership side, is there like, is there any credence to the leader as a visionary? Like, I think, is there some trick to being inspiring and decisive in such a way that, or is it all just about, making sure that you're empowering your individual employees? You know what I mean? How to be a good leader of people. Any thoughts on that?
I think is to be a good leader is the basic one things, yeah, because all we are about human interaction, so it's the most important things.
Mm,
Also, we need to provide a space for people to know about some innovation things. It's
mm,
only also critical, but if we are talking about empowering individuals, I also believe it works really well when we can empower individuals and detect some AI champions. It's the people
mm,
who are the most interested in to adopt these technologies. So I
mm.
think in each company there is some people who are just
Right.
like to research something new, something innovative,
Mm,
and collaborate with these people will really be helpful because
mm.
so one leader can't navigate all the strategic space. They can't cover all departments work and other stuff. So
Right,
the
right.
best strategy from my experience is to define several AI champions
Mm,
and they will shape everything in their department.
right.
So and collaborate with them because
Yeah.
when there is a people who drive it and more people we have, more other people will join to it. So they will push it on their own because for one leader to drive innovation is hard. So they need to have a group of these champions, innovators who love it, who are open to this experiment.
Right, right. And that seems to lead naturally to an idea of leadership being less about saying, yes, everybody will do exactly this, but as a leader, you might be able to say, whether it's AI or anything else, is we're going to have a champion framework and we're going to have some kind of mechanism, whether it's implicit or explicit or what have you, to find the champions to empower the, no, I love it. It's fantastic. Let's move on. Let's go back to tech. Let's get, this is a chance to get as techy as we possibly can, by asking you about what's your most exciting tech hack. And it can be anything, just by way of example. I guess like my tech hack that I'm excited about this week is that, because I happen to be working now with Ruby again after a long time, and I've had to move to a different, I've had to move back to RubyMine, which is a different IDE, and like, it hasn't got the greatest AI support, but I found Windsurf plugged in, and now with Claude 4.5, and there's various people I know who are really committed to Claude. They're kind of like, they love Claude, and they're like, no, it's so much better than everything else. They love it. And I was finding with Claude 4, I was kind of like, well, I find Gemini and GPT are kind of a bit better. They're like, no, no, it's only Claude. Claude is better than everything. It was getting quite passionate, you know what I mean? And I have to say, actually, but now Claude 4.5, I'm kind of like, no, I almost feel like, I would, but I don't know. So that's my kind of tech hack. It's the combination at the moment of 4.5 Windsurf, RubyMine for getting this stuff done and these big Rails apps or what have you. But yeah, and getting as technical as like, what are you, and we talked already about Perplexity or what have you. But is there in work or in play, is there some new thing that you've done in the last few weeks, involving AI or ML or the you're like this is what you're excited about?
Yeah, I'm really like the new release from OpenAI about the like a UI agentic builder. So I didn't test it a lot, but I think it's really promising because from my perspective, many people are currently using N8N, Make.com, and other like AI agentic flows, and
Right,
especially for people who are not in tech. It's a really cool things to do. So
right.
many my friends who are marketology specialists, marketing specialists, or
Yeah,
copywriters or strategic writers and other people. So they build on Maycom or N8N some flow to automate
right.
their workflows. And that's why I'm really waiting what will be created in this space by OpenAI, because
Mm,
I think they have intention uh, to build a really strong agentic platform, and I
mm,
think I think it can be better than N8 and Maycom and similar platforms. But what is important, I think, will be for them that currently they only allow to integrate their own models,
right.
and it's a big limitations. It's a big limitation for
Mm,
people who like other platform. But I also think, on the other hand, that OpenAI will not be able to integrate, for example, Gemini or Claude
mm,
models because it's competitors. So
sure.
it's interesting how they will work with it. So because to compete with platform like N8N,
Mm,
Makecom, they need to be open for every integration. But it's not the reason for them. So we'll see. We'll see. I think it has potential. In terms of developing, my all my AI engineers, ML engineers, they are using both Cursor, Windsurf, so Claude. I think it's only personal feeling what works for them better. As you mentioned, that
mm,
someone are a big adapt for Claude, someone for Windsurf, someone for
mm,
just Chat GPT.
mhm.
So it's also fine. So I think everyone can find something here. Yeah, but I think like is a the biggest transformation of processes and innovation will be in the intersection of domain expertise and opportunity to adapt tools. So and
Yeah.
build some automatic workflows. Yeah.
Yes, yes, no, I completely agree there. Well, and thank you so much for bringing up, yeah, OpenAI's new Agent Builder release, which is, I mean, I saw that go through and been involved in some chats about it. I'm struggling to keep up with all the different things, but I'm really interested in what you say there about the comparison with N and Macom, which other people actually previously on the podcast have mentioned, and I'm not really using these tools myself at the moment. I guess, and perhaps you can confirm this for me. I guess as you were just talking about it, I was thinking of things that maybe this is now old school, but things like Zapier, right, is you're familiar with. And I guess there's back in the day, if you were non-tech and you wanted to kind of plug some things together, you were using Zapier, and now, N and Macom and then, yeah, I mean, people I was talking to this week were saying exactly as you did about the limitation of OpenAI's agent builder being, one of the sticking to their own model. We'll see how that evolves. And yeah, and so I guess I guess there's a um, that intervention is the wrong word, or there's a transformation that's maybe possible in some businesses that maybe within, I don't know if it's the accounting department or the lawyers or what have you, that they might just pull together one of these agent workflows, where they're basically receiving emails from somebody and they're doing some pre-processing step with one agent that stores some stuff somewhere else, and there's another agent that does something and sends them some that basically that you could have that kind of transformation department, and there wasn't actually anybody doing agent coding with it, like working out the OpenAI API or what have you. That's an entirely possible way in which some organizations might evolve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like as the easiest platform will be in use in terms of UI, UX design for people who are not from tech, the more users they will get. Because people are currently struggling to figure out how to set up APIs, how to make
Yeah,
some codes. It's only for people who really like tech. But
sure.
for people from other industries not related to tech so much, they just like want to run, put simple instruction, build some flows,
Mm,
and finish. So they want like a, just like easy tools. So that's why I think like the companies who will provide this
mm,
easy flow and easy step one for such group of
mm,
people will be very successful because for example as a lovable for
mm,
creating the website, so
mm.
many people can easily use them because they have one window for prompting, another window for follow up all this prompting
Right.
to create a site, then one button to public it, one button to create a domain. So you shouldn't like go to the Namecheap another site to figure
Right.
out how to connect and set up. So I think like easy integration will be a key now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree completely. It's exciting times. Just sticking briefly on the tech thing. One of the things, there's also other things like Codex and Claude Code and so on, which are kind of even further down the like, sort of operate in the terminal and so on. I guess one of the things I'm really loving about Cursor and Windsurf is as new models come out. So like, I had been, for like Gemini GPT-5 and sort of focusing on that, and then like Claude 4.5 comes out, I'm hearing good things. I'm able to try it out, keeping the same context. And that's, talking about the sort of, OpenAI locking in their agent builder. I mean, if you're using Codex or Claude Code, again, you're locked to a single model provider. And it's the space is, I mean, this is a situation where you say the competition is good. Each of the AI companies is trying to outdo each other in terms of building the most capable model. And what the last thing you want to have to do is when a new latest and greatest model comes out, is completely switch your UI, right? You want to be able to stay working and just point to the model that does the best thing, right?
Yes. I think like we are currently have a really powerful model, and we are even not ready to adapt these powers that we currently have.
Mm.
So I think like people and business will adapt this tech, this level of tech that we have now for next year. So it's not like easy just like to change everything because as I
No.
mentioned, it's people mindset, it's cultural mindset, and many changes should be done in companies to adapt at least what we have for now. But yeah, I agree with you that companies will compete in it and will compete in integration, will compete with UI, UX, and all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and just another amen to your, I think that we mustn't underestimate the domain expertise, like in the individual companies, is that's kind of, I think it's the people who are kind of at the workface who are experienced. There's this, I don't know if you're familiar with this idea of like starships versus leaky boats. And this is actually on the Cancer Research UK podcast that they had this. And you're probably familiar with any listeners who hadn't heard of that one, which is this idea that in any organization, the Starship, there's like big initiatives to say we're going to do this thing, we're going to get to the moon, versus there's people who are doing the sort of daily sort of glue work to keep, even on the technical side, if not the personal side, to kind of keep things going. And they're experiencing through systems not integrating properly or just a badly designed UI or whatever, unpleasant, repetitive work that they have to do. And that's the sort of leaky boat. And often, it's difficult to get those big starships and, moonshots working if everybody's basically constantly bailing water because
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I think that's where the domain expertise comes in, is working out how to fix those leaks.
Yeah, domain expertise. I think it's now a key, and also it will be very important in future, especially when companies will adopt things. When we have a really powerful models in open source or in API available for everyone, and people will compete using their data because the more specific data you have, the better your model can perform.
Mm,
And it's already a big asset for companies. So companies care about their data because they don't want to share it with like big
sure.
companies to use it. And also like from like our perspective, we also got many requests now to build the data platforms because
Hmm.
companies are thinking now, they realize that to build a good AI, you need to have a good stuff for your data. So you have the
Mm,
security data, you have a good process for data. So that's why I think it will be changed in these terms because
mm,
yeah, because to drive real transformation, the first is like a data foundation.
mm.
That's why companies are really trying to manage this stuff too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So much going on. Well, time's running on. Let's move into our next question, which is about the future of AI. And I think you've already talked about, in the short term, we're going to see more adoption of AI. Domain expertise is going to be important. The thing you were just talking about, the data platforms, all of these things. It's a period of radical change. Where I mean, in my mind. It's maybe a poor comparison, but I compare it to the introduction of Windows and the spreadsheet and so on. And that clearly that took time, but who's not using spreadsheets throughout many organizations. Beyond that, beyond the next that you're actively involved in and you'll be helping these organizations over the next year use the existing models. What are you seeing like further down the line, like once AI has been adopted more successfully, once the next generation of models comes out, how do you see work and life and society changing?
I think it will change a lot in terms of this like a cultural setup. I maybe think I do believe that we are kind of maybe new kind of industrial revolution because
Right.
the processes will gradually reshaped by AI. It will be
Hmm.
reshaped how labor is distributed, how traditional business models operate. So
Mm.
that's why I think we will see many changes. But I think like firstly, companies are currently adapt many things in terms of text. For example, we are working in different directions like talk with our data, information
Hmm.
extraction, document generation, document processing, data processing, and all stuff with this. But I think the next big thing will be multimodal interactions. So it's
Hmm.
currently there is in the some level, but I think we will have even more developed in this space because after we adapt all these like a text models, yeah, we are talking about like a large language models. They are primarily
Mm.
for text. So yeah, of course we have now a Sora and Midjourney, all these things, and
Yeah.
they are really crazy because also the
Hmm.
last release of Sora is wow. So it just like we can't already distinguish between fake and not fake. It's
Right.
really so cool. So and I think that like the next big things will be in this like a multimodal
Hmm.
capacities.
Yeah, yeah, amazing stuff. I mean, it just the mind boggles. I sort of imagine like, are we going to have like fully AI interview? Like you'll do like a Zoom interview, and it'll just be a complete AI where the face is it'll look exactly like a human, right? But it'll just be being generated in real time, and it'll be adapting to your questions and so on. And people will be. I mean, it just yeah, it's. I mean, do you imagine? I don't know. I guess no one's got a crystal ball. Are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future? Are we likely to see, as you say, with the new business models and the economic change, are we likely to see a big split into like there's going to be a lot of companies going out of business because they didn't adopt AI, a lot of jobs disappearing, or are new jobs going to be created at the same rate? Do you feel the future is bright, is mixed, is dark? What do you think?
If you're talking about innovations, I don't believe in the machine uprising or any some kind of sci-fi
Okay.
scenarios.
No.
So I believe they were entering in the new kind of industrial revolutions where processes will be reshaped.
Mm.
So I believe in it. But if you're talking about optimistic, pessimistic, mixed scenarios, I more believe in mixed scenarios now because
Okay.
as I mentioned, and especially from my experience, I'm from Ukraine
Mm.
and there is a
Mm.
war now in Ukraine.
Sure.
And I saw only, and I see still how also many technologies are developing in military space now,
Mm,
and it's
mm.
scary. So that's why I think that if we are talking about innovation only in business, in all this
Mm.
perspective, is one side,
Yes, yes.
kind of the optimistic side. About this, I'm really optimistic.
Yeah.
But about all these like military things,
Mm.
so I think we will have like a mixed things for now. So I'm not so optimistic about this direction
Yeah,
of the thing.
yeah. Absolutely. There's many challenging things going on in the world. Goodness me.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
many things happens now. Things that no one really know what happen next.
Yeah.
So so no one can predict the future. But I think it will not be very easy and optimistic. I think yeah.
Yeah, I think there's certainly going to be highlights and lowlights. A mixed bag makes sense. And I think I can't move on without asking your opinion on AGI or artificial general intelligence. I think no, some they say that the top tech bros are saying they think they've already got it in essence. Yeah. What's your thought on not the models that we have now or that seem readily accessible because it feels like they still have some serious flaws. If in a year or two we have something that's reliably as competent and intelligent as a human or possibly even more so, do you see that as a possibility? Do you think that's going to really change things dramatically or it will just be more of the same?
I think it will not happen in the next years.
Hmm.
I think we can have such things in future,
Mm,
but um, it but I believe it will be a good imitation of human
mm,
brain. But if we are talking about such things like soul, yeah, empathy, all the
hmm,
things around, I think in terms of AI for now, it's really
mm,
deterministic because as we know, yeah, AI learns from data, and
mm,
ChatGPT assistance has like a huge amount of data, and they
mm,
can imitate many things,
mm,
but I think in the terms of imitation of humanity, it will be a good one. So,
mm.
but I don't think it will change our society in nearest like years. I think it can be long-term impact.
Yeah.
Even if you're talking about, for example, like a character AI, yeah? Character AI, it's AI that people can communicate with, can create
Mm,
personas, other stuff. So it's already with us,
yeah.
but we'll see which level we can reach. So, but I believe it's possible, but don't believe it's in nearest like 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, I think the really interesting question will be like, and I can't see any reason why we wouldn't achieve it, but in some number of years, and maybe it will be in 3 and 5 and 10 or 15, is that we'll have a machine that could reliably outsmart a human on many fronts, and I think that's going to be a very interesting and strange world in which we will start to live. But
Yes. With this, I completely agree because for example, even for now, yeah, like any assistance that we have now, it's already more smarter than like average human in terms of information that
right,
they can operate. So no person can hold everything in our brain, so it's
right.
impossible. So that's why in these things like the information gathering, information processing,
Mm,
knowledge base,
mm.
it's already outperform us. So that's why, yeah, from this perspective, it will be very smart. But I hope and I believe that we will be able to find a way to have it as a human empowerment, not
Right.
human replacement. So it's my big maybe dream, and also what I try to bring to companies,
Mm,
the idea that AI shouldn't be replacement of your
right.
people, it should be empowering of your people.
Yeah.
Because if business also thinking about, oh, we need like AI just to replace people, it's bad strategy. So we
Right.
need to build this empowering, and it will be good from many strategies. It will be good for companies, it will be good for people, it will be good for economy, and from everything. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, fantastic sentiment, which I think brings us on to our last question. I mean, we could easily end on that because it's a beautiful vision of hope, I'm very much on board with it. But just a moment for so, what does it all mean? This life, this universe, this everything. Is this some strange simulation that's a test for the eternal afterlife, or how do you? I mean, we live in these exciting times. How do you make sense of what the world means and why you get out of bed in the morning?
I think that In this question, I think that every person find their own questions about the sense. And
Mm,
in general, if you're talking about like evolution, about all this world perspective, of the universe perspective, there is not kind of one sense or
mm,
no general sense of a life in
mm,
general. So
mm,
that's why I believe that people should find their own sense in
mm,
what they are doing, how they live, and find and understand their values
mm,
and try to build their life accordingly to these values.
mm,
And I think in general, humanity should realize that if we are continuing like this in terms of the wars and all the bad stuffs, it's a road to the end. So
mm,
that's why I think like people should be like more empathy, more reliable to each other, maybe to
mm,
make more build like a community things and think about something valuable and good things, trying to think how we can really to build a machines that can navigate us easily to the Mars and other stuff
mm.
instead of destroying current life of many people.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, Katie, if I may call you, thanks for joining us. It's been a wonderful, wonderful episode. I'm sure the listeners will be keen to hear how they can get in touch with you if they want to find out more about what you're doing.
Yeah, please feel free to reach me out in LinkedIn, and I am really open there. So I will answer everyone who reach me out. So I also regularly like post some articles there,
Hmm.
and I would be happy to collaborate and engage with people if you need like any AI related questions or data related questions. So feel free.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thanks so much. Well, thanks everyone. And that wraps up this episode of AI Leadership. If you'd like to be on the podcast or join the Rebel AI community that it all started from, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, Sam Joseph. That's sam@neurogrid.com, and we'll be in your ears again real soon. Finally, big thanks to our guest today, Kateryna Stetsiuk.
Thank you.